It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome back to another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders on his afternoon drive, middle of the week, hump day. Alan, how we feeling?
Well, I'm pretty tired, man. I was up early this morning. Had some errands to run. We had the morning rush on the road. I still haven't been home since then. I'm beat. But you know what? The music hits.
There it is.
And it just hits.
I was going to say, was that the first morning rush that we got?
Second morning rush in the car, I think.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, Alan, we talked about a couple things yesterday that we were curious if they would come to fruition. And Dan Moore Jr. didn't do much of anything today. We'll see how he's officially listed on the participation, but confirmed, we saw Broderick Jones by the players confirmed. Broderick Jones at left tackle, Troy Fautanu at right tackle. We were wondering if Dan's injury could potentially open the door for that to happen. It did happen.
Yeah, you can actually witness that. One video up here on the YouTube channel, Second Sounds in Practice, has some Broderick Jones at left tackle and some Troy Fautanu at right. I mean, obviously, that's the only way you're going to line them up with Dan Moore out. I think the question is this a one-day look, or is this something that's going to lead to more of this? It is a really good thing for Troy Fautanu that it happened today, though, because the team was in pads. And so he really did get an opportunity to kind of show what he can do in as close to a game setting as you're going to get once you leave Latrobe and training camp is over. These Wednesday practices is really the only day they're ever in pads, and even then they're not every Wednesday. So you really got to kind of take your opportunities if they come to you. That's what Troy Fautanu got today. I don't know if it's going to turn into anything, but it's certainly a nice break for him to be able to get that chance.
Is there any, these conversations, I always feel like it's maybe not for you because you've been doing this and you know how to navigate those waters, but I know it's a slippery slope with reporting on stuff that happened in practice unless you can get it confirmed by a player and stuff. But I'm more so just curious, if you can say anything about how Troy has looked physically to you in practicing.
Yeah, I think he looked better today than last week. I'll say that. He looked more like himself. Last week, I saw him out there, and he did not look.
Still very clear that he was an injured player. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think today when I saw him just moving, I think he looked closer to the guy that I saw at training camp. And so, I can't really give a percentage or tell you how healthy he is. He told me Monday that, he's not expecting to have any limitations. As Mike Tomlin said on Tuesday, health is subjective. Everybody's banged up a little bit. And so I think he's pretty close to looking like himself. I think that's fair to say.
If people watch the clip, they would obviously be able to tell, but just for anybody that hasn't, is he wearing anything still on that knee? Does he have a...
Yeah. I mean, some offensive linemen wear knee braces all the time. So, in fact, when he injured it, he hurt it in the Texans game, and he kept playing. He finished his reps in that game, and he just went over to the equipment manager and asked. He didn't even talk to a trainer. He just went to the equipment manager and asked for a brace. And then the equipment managers thought, he just wanted to try playing with the brace on, because some guys do. Some guys wear the brace all the time. No, he was actually injured and did not, come out of the game. Yeah, but I would expect that as long as it's not, dramatically uncomfortable for him, that they're going to want him to wear that brace at least the rest of this season.
Yeah, that's fair. And then what about the other guys that are dealing with injuries right now? We talked about Russell Wilson, obviously. Tomlin kind of confirmed that he wasn't going to have a full workload today, even yesterday when Tomlin spoke for Tomlin Tuesday. We've talked about Roman Wilson working his way back. Saw a clip of him that somebody posted today of him actually running routes now at this point as he continues to ramp up his workload. But, what, if anything, did you see from those two that you could talk about?
Yeah, I didn't talk to Roman after, so I can't say everything I saw there, but he was in pads, which is a big deal. That means that he was at least cleared for some contact. He had been running routes in the Indy periods, but I think the fact that he was in pads to me says that he's taken a step forward. I do think there's a chance he gets in the lineup this week. And then, so I'm blanking on who the other. Oh, Russ. He warmed up. He was in pads also. I don't know that the quarterbacks didn't talk. I don't really think I can give you any more characterization of what he did other than if you look up in that YouTube video, one video up there, you can see him. He's throwing. It's the passing does not look like a problem, but I didn't see him doing any running either. So I think there's probably still some steps to be taken. He was supposed to get reevaluated either during or after practice today by the medical team. So maybe we'll know more tomorrow.
I would say, so you'd have to think pretty big day tomorrow towards figuring out what's going to happen Sunday.
If he's not at least I think they're probably going to list him as limited. They listed him as limited last week. But if he doesn't do anything beyond stretching and throwing the occasional ball, which is what he's been doing, I don't see tomorrow. Then it would be pretty hard for me to see him being a full or close to full participant on Friday, and I think that's what it would take for him to play. So, I mean, today was a chance for him to do more, and I'm not sure that we saw more.
Gotcha. Okay. Your friend Terrell Edmonds back. You said you were excited yesterday when we talked about it to get him back in the building. You always enjoyed covering him. I saw that he spoke to the media today. I'm a little bummed out about him not getting 34 back, but what else did he have to say about returning to the Steelers?
Yeah, I talked to Terrell today. He was like, man, it's all the same faces. Very excited to see guys like me and Jeff Hathorne and Mike Pursuta, who are just old and therefore are unchanged over time. And he was basically said, I'll do anything for the team. He said he's going to play special teams, so I would expect that. Saw him, working. It was him and Deshaun Elliott and Miles Killebrew. So, I mean, I saw some people with some crazy takes on social media, is he going to play slot corner? Is he going to play linebacker? I'm like, no, he's a strong safety. He's going to be the backup strong safety. He might be the best backup strong safety in the league, at least compared to what the Steelers asked their strong safety to do. He's not the right strong safety for every team. If you're going to play too high, I don't know how much Terrell Edmonds I need, but if you're doing what the Steelers do, especially with the 3 safety package they want to run, yeah, absolutely. He's a really good player for them to have. And 38, though.
Yeah, I know.
Not only is it not his number, it's just not a good number. Rel explained it. So the NFL said that because week 1 had already happened, even though Jalen Elliott didn't play, and I cannot fathom that there are many, if any, Jalen Elliott jerseys out there printed that are in stock that would be taken as a loss if they let him switch his number. They will not let Jalen Elliott change his number. Terrell seemed to suggest it was the NFL that was holding that up. So Jalen Elliott, because he was on the roster for week 1, could not change his number, and therefore Edmonds stuck without an available 34. I think that's some nonsense. I think the NFL needs to take a look. I guarantee you there are more unsold 34 Edmonds jerseys in stock than there are unsold 34 Jalen Elliott jerseys in stock. I understand that's the policy most of the time for a reason, but in this specific case, I think they do better with him as 34 than they would with him as 38. That just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Maybe I'm missing something here. So then, when we traded for Minka in 2019 in season, we had Cam Kelly on the roster wearing 29. So even if Minka, Cam Kelly would have been willing to give him 29, he wouldn't have been able to. So
there's I think the way it works is you have to pay a fine to. It's not really a fine, but you have to pay the NFLPA or whoever the because things have been created with your name and number on them that now cannot be sold. And so,
yeah, right.
like, they set it up that way so that, like, for some players, it goes even beyond the year. Like, if you're like a star player, like if George Pickens at the end of this season was like, I don't want to be 14 anymore. I want to be the Steelers are going to let him wear 1 finally. Let's say the Steelers like, oh yeah, we're going to let George wear 1 now. He would have to pay to buy out every 14 George Pickens jersey, shirt, coffee mug, keychain, bumper sticker, whatever in existence. And even if you're a player where none of that stuff is actually made in any amount, there's like a minimum dollar figure that you have to pay just for like graphics that are created and like the sort of art work that is made for every you gotta have a TV intro made for every all the stuff is sort of around the team, social media graphics and things like that. So they basically charge the players to change their number after the season starts.
See, okay, I knew about that aspect, like in terms of that, and I know that was like a thing with but it wasn't even in season when he did, but like T. Higgins switched numbers, and I remember him talking about that as well. Dalvin Cook.
So if you're a star player, if you have enough of that stuff made, even on the off season they make you pay. Obviously, Jalen Elliott does not have any merch out there on the shelves waiting to be purchased. But
I already have it all.
38 is.
Yeah, he was wearing that last year too in Tennessee and stuff. And now, L'Jarius Sneed wears 38. So if you're there, you go, I guess. But
don't make it good. Don't make it good.
Yeah, I was a little bit bummed out about him not being able to get 34.
But you know what? I went and looked, and it was like the last number that he could get. Like, there's nothing else available because the Steelers have a bunch of guys on IR. And now that the practice squad players can play, like their numbers count too.
Yeah. Okay.
So like before, if you were on the practice squad, you technically got a jersey number, but it didn't matter. It could be like whatever. You could wear like 00. You had a jersey number so they could identify you in practice, but it didn't matter. But now you can't have duplicate numbers on the practice squad anymore either. So like 33 is Aaron Shamplin. Like 33 would be a way better number than 38, but like can't have it, And so I went and looked. Every number for the Steelers between 20 and 49, except for 38, was already spoken for.
That's crazy. Okay. Well, there you have it.
I think the Steelers, whether they want to do it or not, are going to need to embrace, at the very least, DBs in the teens. Because I got the numbers.
Well, Trenton Thompson wore 17 last year.
I know, and somebody else. There was a corner a couple of years ago that wore 16.
Oh, brother. Yeah, I played in the playoff game, too.
Yeah.
Dang it. That's going to bother me. Miles Jack wore 16 last year as a linebacker.
Yeah, and Anthony Averett is 18. So, like, I don't know. Maybe they would have let him have a team number if he asked for. Actually, maybe there isn't a team number either. 1918. Who's 17? I don't know 17 yet. Yeah, 17 would have been the other option. 16, 15 Scoran, 14 George, 13 Scotty, 12 is retired, 11 is So 17 and 38 were the two choices.
Wow. Okay. Well, there we have it. Alan, something I want to talk about. I don't want to get too deep into this because it is just week 1, but you brought it to my attention about the Steelers playoff odds after week 1 and how good week 1 was for them. Obviously, they're the only team in the division to win, but also just what happened with the other AFC teams that are also going to be in the mix.
Yeah, their playoff odds went up pretty dramatically, and that happens when you win a game where you're the underdog. But also just everybody else in the North loses, and then a bunch of the other potential AFC wildcard teams lost, and did not look particularly good. Like the Jets looked awful. The Jags lost, to the Dolphins, but still. I don't think people think the Dolphins are some juggernaut. Like, they don't have great Super Bowl odds. Somebody else lost too. The Colts, and didn't do particularly well. And so when you start to look at, like, I think everybody thinks the Texans are going to come out of the South. I think everybody expects the Chiefs to come out of the West. And, one of the Bills or the Dolphins are going to win the East, and the other's probably in. And then, but if you look at the North, and then those other teams, except for those that I named, that are sort of seem like they're probably locks, nobody other than the Steelers really looked like they greatly exceeded expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. I was going through the games here, trying to, after you told me the information, going through a little bit, and I agree. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of games that I didn't necessarily expect them to go that way. Even teams that won, right? Like Buffalo beating Arizona by 6. They really struggled with them. I mean, the Chargers and Raiders, whatever. We already have talked about how we feel about the Denver Broncos, but the Jets lost to an NFC team. That's big. The other ones that you talked about were kind of like AFC on AFC, but still. Titans losing to the Bears.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Titans are a playoff team, but yeah, I mean, it was not a good week for the AFC playoff bubble teams in general, and so therefore it was a very good week for the Steelers. And look, I mean, I didn't expect them to win that game. So you said your season prediction was 10-7, right?
Yeah,
but you had them winning that game.
Correct.
All right. So I think they're kind of ahead of the curve for me. I thought they were going to lose that game. I had them at 9-8. I feel like we're now
okay.
Coming
well, so the thing for me is, like, I put out, like, I say what my season prediction is, but it's not like I go through game by game what I think is going to happen to get to that.
Yeah, I do, but
yeah,
I get that.
So yeah, there's that. Speaking of this matchup with the Broncos, obviously going against a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix. And again, I don't want to dive in too much to this specific matchup quite yet because we still got a couple more podcasts this week. But I thought it was interesting to take a look at their success versus rookie quarterbacks. All time, what they've done against the Broncos, what they've done. 10 of the last 12 they've won against rookie quarterbacks, 49-15 all time. Under Tomlin, this is probably the more important one here out of those, 24-6 all time against rookie quarterbacks. The interesting part of that, though, is, Alan, 2 of those 6 losses came just last year to CJ Stroud and Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah, and what a weird, Stroud, obviously one of the better rookie quarterbacks they probably ever faced, right?
Yeah.
He lost to Dak Prescott, and that's probably, I'd say right now, Stroud looks like the best of those guys, and so, no real shame in that. But then DTR, woof. I mean, lost his job to 40-year-old Joe Flacco after that game. What a terrible loss. And I don't know. Does the history of the Steelers against rookie quarterbacks matter to you? Does it give you any happy feelings in your chest when you think about this game?
No, not just that on the surface, because it's Bo Nix, maybe a little bit, and the fact that it's early in the season, maybe that there would be more credence given to the fact that it's a rookie quarterback because they still haven't seen a lot of defenses in the NFL. So maybe all of it kind of put together, the information that you have, but just that one specific thing, no.
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth. I think generally rookie quarterbacks are not very good. So most teams probably
right. Stroud is an outlier.
Yeah, most teams probably have a pretty good record against rookie quarterbacks, I would assume. I don't think there's very many teams out there that are it's a rookie. It's not it's not like baseball where the Pirates are like, oh man, this guy just called up some rando that no one's ever heard of from AAA. Here comes 6 shutout innings. That happens in baseball. It doesn't happen in football. Rookies are generally not very good, and so I don't know that I care a lot about that. But I just think that Bo Nix is not very good, and I think that was a mistake of a draft pick. And I think my evaluation of my feelings of confidence for the Steelers is more about the identity of the rookie than the fact that he is a rookie. Like the Steelers play Denver again next year, I'm gonna feel just as good about them playing against Bo next. Like that.
Yeah. Interesting. And you mentioned to me before we started recording when we were kind of going through this, one of those losses all time to a rookie quarterback though did happen against the Broncos.
1983, John Elway.
Yeah. Which pretty good player in John Elway that he turned out to be.
Yeah, that was back when rookies really didn't play either, but that 1983 quarterback class was pretty special. Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, they did a lot of good things. So, Elway was such a fun player to watch. I don't know how much of his career you got to see, if any, but
I don't remember any of it. When did he stop playing?
Well, he retired after he won his second Super Bowl. I think that was like 97, if I remember correctly.
Why can't I find this? It's normally right on the Wikipedia page how long his career lasted. I mean, I was born in 95, so
you were
98.
There you go.
There we go.
He was a great player. I think kind of the closest thing to that era of a Ben Roethlisberger for me. Big, strong, ran, moved around the pocket. Good guy in the fourth quarter. I not a very good general manager though. In my book, I don't think the Broncos thrived under his tenure, and I'm not sure. I've met George Patone. I like him. I think he's a nice guy. I'm not loving the direction of this. Although this year, when you take the cap hit that they took to get rid of Russell Wilson, you're essentially tanking whether you want to admit it or not. Like they could have spread out the cap hit over multiple seasons. They decided not to. They decided to take it all in this year. I mean, it's like trying to run the bases with bricks in your legs. Like you're not even really trying. So. I think they're going to be pretty bad this year.
I wouldn't have an issue with George Patone if he would have traded Courtland Sutton to the 49ers for a third-round pick to let us get the Brandon Ayuk thing done. But I'll like him again.
Courtland Sutton to the Steelers.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. So if he ends up making a deal with the Steelers to get Courtland Sutton here before this year's trade deadline, maybe I'll be back on board.
It's certainly possible.
Well, if he wants to win me over, and I'm not sure where that falls on his list of priorities, but if he wants to win Zach Smith over, that's what you'll take.
All right. I'll if I see him this week, I will let him know. I doubt he remembers me, but yeah.
Yeah. I want to get to some questions here that we got from YouTube, and I thought the one was interesting because it was asked like 3 times about it. I really didn't make anything of it, I guess, just because it was week 1 and it's a deep group. But there was 3 different people that commented asking about DeMarvin Leal snaps. The Markov Joe specifically said anything to make of DeMarvin Leal's snaps, like the way that he looked throughout the summer, and then heard great things about his preseason as well. I thought he was going to be a bigger part of the game plan in this one, certainly play more snaps than we saw from like an Isaiah Loudermilk.
Yeah, I mean, I am not really surprised that he didn't get a lot of snaps. What do you have, about 8?
7.
Yeah. I probably would have figured 10. I don't think it was a lot less than I thought. Atlanta just did not. I mean, it was just a low event game. There were just not very many snaps in general. So, and the other thing that happened was the Steelers' offense did not have very many 3-and-outs. And so a lot of times, if you go like long drive 3-and-out, you go back out there, that's when you really need the second team D-line to come in for like 5 or 6 plays in a row. Otherwise it's just like 1 or 2, and so it's hard for those guys to get a lot of reps. I'm not really surprised. I thought he did well when he was out there. He was great on the kickoff. Did you see the hit he had on the one kick return? Huge hit. Came skipping off the field. I think. I mean, Dean Lowry, did he get any?
I thought he was even. Did he get a helmet? I thought he was one of the inactives.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that Leal was that. I mean, maybe you would have thought the distribution between him and Loudermilk a little bit more even. Loudermilk probably had about 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly, to be honest. I know I talked about it, but
so maybe I would have thought they'd be a little closer, but I'm not particularly surprised.
No, sorry. Loudermilk had 10. DeMarvin Leal only had 5.
Oh, okay.
Monty Adams 20, Benton 27, Ogunjobi 34, Hayward 35, and yeah, Lowry was a healthy scratch.
Yeah, I mean, that's about what I expected. I mean, I know we talked about ball off season, but like we talked him from getting cut to being a game day active, like that was a large move for him this offseason.
Right. Yeah, he's got a helmet, and they didn't add another, like there's not another active edge rusher outside of the top 3. Like he would be the 4th guy. So like yeah, I still think that's a win for him, and
filling like 2 roles. Yeah.
We'll see how time progresses there. This is actually something that I wanted to bring up, so I'm glad that Justin brought this up from YouTube. Justin Watson was talking about Brandon Johnson and Ben Skowronek. I brought up Brandon Johnson to you, but I thought that Justin's point here was interesting because I just talked about this with Tyler on this week's Around the 412 Steelers show. Is I'm not saying that we're at that point yet. It's only one game, and I'm not pressing the panic button on this yet. But if Van Jefferson doesn't contribute more as a receiver in the near future, like he doesn't have, like I asked you about Calvin Austin. Obviously, he's the punt returner. Scotty Miller's a gunner. You have guys that add value elsewhere. If Van Jefferson doesn't contribute more in the receiving game, at what point do we say, like, this guy probably shouldn't be getting a helmet?
Well, I think that's like, we were talking about like wide receivers that are available, and it's like Van Jefferson, like if you're going to add a wide receiver, the bar has to be better than Van Jefferson. Like, and he's got to be the one to go. It's not going to be Calvin Austin. He's your punt returner. It's not going to be Scotty Miller, multi-phase special teamer. Skowronek's on the practice squad. He's up as long as he's going to be playing special teams. You're not going to cut or bench Roman Wilson once he gets healthy. So there's only one other spot. And so if they're going to make an upgrade at wide receiver, the upgrade has to be better than Van Jefferson, and Van Jefferson has to be the odd man out. I don't see any other way to do it.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like the receiving part of this aside, his blocking, like that's what I was talking about with how bad they were on the perimeter. And I know that like Calvin Austin, he's just so small. Van looks like he should be able to do that task. He was awful on Sunday in that respect.
Yeah. And, I think a lot has been made about the wide receiver blocking in this scheme, but like, I didn't see anything in that game that to me was like, oh man, that's a really difficult block for a wide receiver, or like
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's not like I was seeing like, oh, that's a defensive end, like, that's a really, like, it was pretty standard stuff. I mean, the Falcons have a good defense. We talked about that a lot. There's good players over there, but it's not like the assignments were like out of control difficulty level for those wide receivers. Yeah. So, I don't think that was a great performance from them in that regard. I did talk to Calvin Austin a little bit about that today. I'll tell you what, man, I would just be playing more tight ends. If they're not going to they're not going to get like a ton of contributions from their receivers in either receiving or blocking, why have them?
Right. Well, that's the thing is like I know that I'm bringing up Van specifically,
or let me just get my line in here. Or play both running backs at the same time.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know why.
I'm for that as well. For me, like, I know that I'm using Van specifically here, but the receivers were all bad at block. I mean, even George had his like that 1 yard play to Van Jefferson was only 1 yard because of the blocking or lack thereof from George and Calvin on that play. Should have been a first down for sure, but they were all bad. Like, that's why no success running on the perimeter because of what they were getting from those guys. Even Justin Fields had to like fight for his life on a QB run where Van Jefferson couldn't get the seal. And again, maybe that is one of the cases that you're talking about where he was maybe asked to do something that we know that he's not going to be able to do. I don't know. Like, we're not asking him to do the stuff that like Brandon Ayuk is asked to do in San Fran's blocking game from their receivers, or Juwan Jennings, what he's asked to do in that scheme. So I don't know. He's the one guy that I bring up, and I'm glad that Justin did too, just because, like we've talked about, what is the other contribution outside of that? Like, he doesn't play special teams. So to your point, like, if there is a guy that's going to be replaced within this receiving room, it probably would be him. It's just funny to think that right now because he's the pseudo wide receiver too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's sort of like what we said all offseason, though. Like, their wide receiver 3, 4, and 5 are not bad for those slots. It's just that they don't have a better 2, right? And so it's an interesting dynamic. Like, their wide receiver room is not good, but also like they kind of need the players they have in those other slots. It's not like they can just claim anybody on waivers willy-nilly and that would automatically make them better. It wouldn't.
Yeah. I don't know. Appreciate the question / thought from you, Justin. And again, Tyler and I actually talked about that as well. I brought that up on there, and it was funny to see it in the YouTube comments. Basically the same thought, what's the leash with Van Jefferson before you give Brandon Johnson and Ben Skowronek helmets? I don't know. What do you think the answer to that is? Like, how far do you think that we could go before they would make that move?
I think the only way you're going to see that move is if Roman Wilson is not dressing right now.
Okay.
And then I think that the answer beyond that would be, can they get a cornerback in the punt gunner rotation so that they could not have to dress Skowronek? And then you could get Johnson up to play receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the opportunity to put Skowronek on the 53-man roster. They had the space. They still could have the space, and they haven't. So, to me, that says they, in their mind, like, this is not a permanent situation with essentially 3 wide receivers up just for special teams. So, I think,
yeah,
we'll see how that goes in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan, tell people they can find you.
Still on Route 30, at least far on my at the end of the podcast. At A Saunders _PGH on X, Instagram, and TikTok. PGH Steelers Now is the site's account on those platforms. SteelersNow.com is where the words live. Read them so I can get paid. Also, sign up for Steelers Now Plus. Use promo code 10% off an annual subscription, which takes down to like $4 a month, which is next nothing. It's like not even a good drink at Starbucks. If you think the Starbucks drinks are good, I like.
That's like a can of Sprite on Spirit.
And that's right. Did you like that? That it was funny. It's like you got like a whole bunch of comments yesterday on Morning Rush, and people were like, man, I really love that. And then like there was like one comment that was like, what's this guy think he is some kind of econ professor? That was pretty funny. Yeah, less than a can of Sprite on a Spirit airplane a month. And like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications on YouTube so you can hear me rant about economics in the mornings. And Sprite.
There you go.
Oh, talk to Joey Porter Jr. today. No update from Coca-Cola on that front. Frustratingly quiet. I told him we gotta push. We gotta find a way. He said that was genuine excitement. That he was wasn't like he was like putting on for the camera. He was just fired up about his Sprite.
Yeah, I mean, I think that came through the camera, that was the case, that it was genuine. And honestly, I'm willing to go head first in this mission as well to make sure that this happens. So I'm not resting until this endorsement deal happens. You have my word, Joey.
We at least need some official, like, even if it's just like a couple cases of Sprite in his locker. Like, we need some acknowledgement from Coca-Cola.
This is completely unrelated, but also kind of related just because of what you're saying. My friend did like a photo shoot with like a box of Twinkies for some reason, and they sent him literally like a year's supply of Twinkies because of it.
Right? I think we gotta find a way to get our man some Sprite at the very least. At the very least.
Absolutely. Joey deserves it. Yes, if you're watching here, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit us in the comments with your thoughts, anything we talked about, any questions for a future episode. If you were listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there as well. Steelers Afternoon Drive. You can find us on TikTok at Steelers Afternoon Drive as well. And then you can find me everywhere, Zachary Smith, PGH, for Alan Saunders and myself. Thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.